Anchoring Effect. The anchoring effect occurs when the first piece of information we receive influences our subsequent judgments and decisions. For example, if you are told that a car costs $30,000, any lower price will seem like a bargain. Imagine setting an anchor price in your mind and comparing everything else to it. Confirmation bias. This bias is when people favor information that confirms their existing beliefs and ignore contradictory evidence. For instance, if you believe in a particular political ideology, you might only read news articles that support it. Think of it as wearing glasses that only let you see what you want to see. Halo Effect. The halo effect is when our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their character. For example, attractive people are often perceived as more intelligent and capable. Imagine meeting someone well-dressed and immediately assuming they are competent in their job. Dunning-Kruger Effect. The Dunning-Kruger Effect is when individuals with low ability at a task overestimate their ability, while expats tend to underestimate theirs. It's like a novice cook believing they are ready to open a restaurant after making a few meals. Backfire Effect. This effect happens when people are presented with evidence that contradicts their beliefs, and they end up strengthening their original beliefs instead. Imagine trying to convince a friend with facts, but they become more stubborn in their views. Bystander Effect. The bystander effect is when individuals are less likely to offer help to a victim when other people are present. It's like witnessing an accident but assuming someone else will call for help. Hyperbolic discounting. This bias is tendency to prefer smaller immediate rewards over larger delayed ones. For example, choosing to eat a piece of cake now rather than waiting for eating a healthier meal later. It's about wanting instant gratification. Framing Effect. The framing effect occurs when people react differently to a choice depending on how it is presented. For instance, a surgery with a 90% survival rate sounds better than one with a 10% mortality rate. It's all about the perspective. Authority bias. Authority bias is the tendency to attribute greater accuracy to the opinion of an authority figure, even if they are not an expert. Think of blindly following a celebrity endorsement without checking the facts. Primacy and Recency Effect. These effects means we are more likely to remember the first and the last items in a series. For example, remembering the first and the last names on the list better than those in the middle. It's about the precision effect. Illusion of control. This bias is the tendency to overestimate our ability to control events. For example, thinking you can influence the outcome of a game by wearing a lucky shirt. It's about believing we have more control than we actually do. Sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy occurs when people continue an endeavor because of previously invested resources. It's like continuing to fix an old car because you've already spent so much on repairs. Clustering illusion. This is the tendency to see patterns in random events. For example, seeing faces in clouds. It's about our brain trying to find order in chaos. Fear of missing out. FOMO is the anxiety that an existing or interesting event may currently be happening elsewhere, often aroused by posts seen on social media. It's about the fear that others are having more fun than you. Availability Heuristic. This heuristic is when people judge the probability of events based on how easily examples come to mind. For instance, fearing plane crashes more than car accidents because plane crashes are more sensationalized in the media. Representativeness Heuristic. This heuristic is when people judge the probability of an event based on how much it resembles a typical case. For example, assuming someone is a librarian because they are quiet and love books. Anchoring and adjustment. This bias occurs when people start with an initial anchor and make adjustments to it. For example, starting with a high price in negotiations and then slowly reducing it to seem more reasonable. Loss aversion. Loss aversion is a tendency to prefer avoiding losses over acquiring equivalent gains. Losing $100 feels worse than gaining $100 feels good. It's about the pain of loss. Expectation effect. The expectation effect occurs when an individual's expectations about an outcome influence their experience of that outcome. For example, expecting a movie to be great and enjoying it more because of that expectation. Hindsight bias. Hindsight bias, also known as I knew it all along effect, is the tendency to see the events as being predictable after they're already being occurred. For example, after a sports game, fans often believe they knew the outcome all along. It's like looking back with the false belief that you could have foreseen events, even when you couldn't.